Matt Armstrong, and I'm the design director on PROTOTYPE2. And with me is...
I'm John Howard. I'm one of the senior designers on PROTOTYPE2.
And so today, I guess we're going to talk a little bit about, where we are with the project at this point. And we've just hit alpha, which is one of our sort of major deliverable milestones, which means, in practical terms, that we've got all of the features and all of the content, basically everything that is going to make up the final game is kind of there for us to play through, and you can play through the game from start to finish. And we're now in that sort of really nice position, honestly, where we're starting to put all of the polish on, kind of all of the things that we've been looking at for months and months that, are the niggling frustrations of development, the things that you haven't been able to touch because you've been too busy working on features. We're now starting to get better and better and better, and you're starting to see, if not a day-by-day improvement, you're seeing a moment-by-moment improvement. And from my point of view, every single time someone on the team submits a brand new piece of work or a brand new improvement, fixes a bug, or sort of polishes something up, I'm constantly grabbing latest and and playing the game and seeing a really, really positive trajectory that we're on. I don't know if that's the same for you, John.
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day, we were talking about this, how does this alpha stack up to previous games that I've worked on, previous games you've worked on? And it's actually been really good. I think Ken put it really well, where he was like, we actually hit alpha, whereas most projects hurtle past alpha on fire. It was really rewarding to see all of those pieces finally start to come together and finally start to be able to sit down, where it's not just playing this mission or that mission, but it's actually being able to sit down and play through a whole zone and several story missions, and that unlocking open world missions, and that giving you upgrades, and all these little pieces coming together. So you just sat down and you were like, oh, I'm playing the game. I mean, someone else had that. I was talking to someone else about a week ago, and they were saying, yeah, I sat down and I was playing the game, and I was testing a mission, and then I finished that mission, and I went to the next mission, and then I unlocked this, and then I found a lair, and it was like, oh, I completely forgot what I was testing.
And that's the key. I think often you get to alpha and you get that moment of being able to look at the totality of what you've been building for months, and then you have to take that deep breath and look at it and go, okay, how do we fix this now? Whereas I think the position that we're in on this particular alpha is very different. We've got a game that is actually inherently very, very fun to play. There's a lot of rough edges at the moment, which is exactly what you would expect at this stage of development. But it's really exciting that we're not looking at a whole bunch of how the hell can we fix this problems. We're looking at okay, this is great, now we just need to do this, this and this, and the path through to finishing off these features and getting them up to a really high standard of shipping quality is really clear. And it's exciting to have that. It's exciting to be working with that energy in the studio at the moment.
I think the one thing that I've learned doing this for 15 years is that at a certain point, editing is really important. It's like a book or anything else. You if you just keep writing, you'll end up with a bunch of words. But at some point, you have to go back and you have to read what you wrote, and you have to play what you created, and you have to take things away. And it's sometimes it's taking something away that just isn't. It was a great idea when you started, and then it's crap. And you work on it, you try it, and you spend a lot of time on it. And I remember hearing someone say a long time ago that sometimes it doesn't matter how much time you spent on a piece of content. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's not a reason to keep it. It's a reason to take it out. And that's what you get when you get to sort of alpha, is you start looking at things and saying what stays, what goes, and your editing eye comes out. And it's always nice to sort of get to that point. And I feel like on this project, we actually got to that point at a really reasonable stage, with enough time to actually edit the whole experience, which is really cool.
You're less distracted by all of the high-level concerns of the project, and you're very much able to get down onto the ground floor and actually work with the individual people in all of the different areas to make sure that those improvements are happening on a day-to-day basis, or to help make those decisions, to your point about what it is that you keep and what it is that you lose. And I think that from my point of view, it's actually it's an exciting position to be in. I think as design director, I frequently feel a step or two removed from the day-to-day and from what people are doing around me, and it's nice to have that opportunity to effectively get my hands dirty again, to get down onto the floor and really sort of help people to finish the game that we're building.
It's always best to get feedback from someone who isn't building it, because everyone who's sort of working on, a feature or a mission has sort of a stake in it, and there's a delicacy to it, and someone else can come along and go, yeah, but why does it suck so much? Like, that's not fun. and you go, oh yeah, that isn't really fun, or the part that's fun is buried under all of this unobvious crap, and whether it's getting people on the team to play it or bringing in people from outside the studio. One of my favorite things is bringing a designer who's sort of new to the industry and bringing him to a play test, and having them sit behind someone playing their mission and utterly failing, because nothing is more, it's not even humbling, right? Nothing is more illuminating than watching someone fail at the thing that you think is so obvious.
You have that initial rage about, sort of like, how can they not see that? How can they not realize what it is that they're supposed to be doing? And eventually you have to be able to sort of take that deep breath, take that step back, and understand that, what I perceive and what my expectations are ultimately unimportant in all of this. It's what the player's perspective is that is vital. We get nowhere if we build that game for ourselves. Ultimately you're totally beholden to the player and making sure that you've got a game that is there that is really going to resonate with them and really excite them. And so it's
exactly. I think that's really important. I think that's always the exciting part.